Iskon founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivraja Acharya Stotera Chat Shri Srimad Bhagavatam Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. Jai Vishnupad Srila Gaur Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Srila Satyanandana Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhuma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jaya Sri Rupa Sanata Bhagavata Raghunatha Sujiva Kapala Bhatta Das Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Anatakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Gunath Raj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Iskon Bharma Guru Vrinda Ki Jai. Gora Pramanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayan Namaskritya. Naram Jaiva Narottamam. Devam Saraswatam Vyasam. Jajojayam Hridayat. Nasta Presho Vatreshu. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttama Shloke. Bhaktir Bhavati Naishiki. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasdev, the author, by regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by the rendering of service to the pure devotee. All that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. All right, good morning, everybody. Today is September 7th, 2025, and we are reading Canto 4, Creation of the Fourth Order. Chapter 29, Talks between Narada and King Prachinibari, and we're doing verse 66. Okay. Mana eva manusyasya Purva rupani shamsati Bhavishyatascha badramte Tataiva na bhavishyata Mana eva manusyasya Purva rupani shamsati Bhavishyaktascha badramte Tataiva na bhavishyata Mana eva manusyasya Purva rupani shamsati Bhavishyaktascha badramte Tataiva na bhavishyata. Please chant.
Mana eva manusyasya Purva rupani shamsati Bhavishyatashta badramte
Tataiva na bhavishyata. Maneva manusyasya Purva rupani shamsati Bhavishyatacha padramte Tataiva na bhavishyata. Maneva manusyasya
Purvarupani Shamsati Bhavishyatascha Bhadram Te Taivana Bhavishyata. Okay, word for word. Manaha, the mind.
The mind.
Eva,
Eva.
certainly.
Certainly.
Manushyasya,
Manushasya.
of man. Purva,
Purva.
hath.
Hath.
Rupani,
Rupani.
forms.
Form.
Samshati,
Samshati.
indicates.
Indicate.
Bhavishyata, Bhavishyata,
Bhavishyata.
one who will take birth.
One who will take birth.
Cha,
Cha.
also.
Also.
Badram,
Bhadram.
good fortune.
Good fortune.
Te,
Te.
unto you. Tata,
Ta.
thus.
Ta.
Eva,
Eva.
certainly.
Certainly.
Na,
Na.
not. Bhavishyata,
Bhavishyata.
of one who will take birth.
One who will take birth.
Translation. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O King, all good fortune unto you. The mind is the cause of the living entities attaining a certain type of body in accordance with his association with material nature. According to one's mental composition, one can understand what the living entity was in his past life, as well as what kind of body he will have in the future. Thus, the mind indicates the past and future bodies. Please repeat. O King,
Okay.
all good fortune unto you.
All good fortune unto you.
The mind is the cause of the living entities
The mind is the cause of living entities.
attaining a certain type of body
Attaining a certain type of body.
in accordance with his association
In accordance with his association
with material nature.
with material nature.
According to one's mental composition,
According to one's mental composition,
one can understand
one can understand
what the living entity was in his past life,
what the living entity was in his past life,
as well as what kind of body he will have in the future.
as well as what kind of body he will have in the future.
Thus, the mind indicates
Thus, the mind indicates
the past and future bodies.
past and future bodies.
Purport. The mind is the index of information about one's past and future lives. If a man is a devotee of the Lord, he cultivated devotional service in his previous life. Similarly, if one's mind is criminal, he was a criminal in his last life. In the same way, according to the mind, we can understand what will happen in future life. In Bhagavad Gita 14:8, it is said, 14:18, it is said, Urdvam gachanti satvasta madhyetishtam ti rajasa jaganya guna vritista adho gachanti tamsha. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets, and those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. If a person is in the mode of goodness, his mental activities will promote him to the higher planetary system. Similarly, if he has a low mentality, his future will be most abominable. The lives of the living entity, in both the past and the future, are indicated by the mental condition. Narada Muni is here in offering the king blessings of all good fortune, so that the king will not desire anything or make plans for sense gratification. The king was engaged in fruitive ritualistic ceremonies because he hoped to get a better life in the future. Narada Muni desired him to give up all mental concoctions. As explained before, all bodies in heavenly planets and hellish planets arise from mental concoctions, and the sufferings and enjoyments of material life are simply on the mental platform. They take place on the chariot of the mind, Manoratha. It is therefore said, Yasyati bhaktir bhagavat kinchana saver gunastatra samasateshara arava bhaktasya kuto mahadguna manorathina sati bhato bahi davato bahi. One who has unflinching devotion for the personality of Godhead has all the good qualities of the demigods, but one who is not a devotee of the Lord has only material qualifications that are of little value. This is because he is hovering on the mental plane and is certain to be attracted by the glaring material energy. Bhagavatam 5:18-12. Unless one becomes a devotee of the Lord or becomes fully Krishna conscious, he will certainly hover on the mental platform and be promoted to degraded in different types of bodies. All qualities that are considered good according to the material estimation actually have no value, because these so-called good qualities will not save a person from the cycle of birth and death. The conclusion is that one should be without mental desire. Anya bilashita shunyam jnana karmadhyanavitam. One should be fully free from material desires, philosophical speculation, and fruitive activity. The best course for a human being is to favorably accept the transcendental devotional service of the Lord. That is the highest perfection of human life. Om Jnana Timarandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshura Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapadakamalam Shri Guram Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagratata Sahagana Raghunatamitam Tam Sajivam Savadetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabando Jagapate Gopesha Gopeka Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. All right. Namaste to you, Lord. Journey, Prabhupada, Bhavai, Silvani, Yadu, Tantra, Pavana, Pasketa, Tatman, Okay. So, in this verse, we hear that Narada is talking to King Prachini, and he's reminding him of the importance of the mind and your state of mind in determining your next body. Krishna tells us in Bhagavad Gita that whatever state one remembers at the time of death, that state he will attain without fail. And this verse points out that we can understand what state of mind one had in their past life by seeing the state of their mind and body. So did you ever meet anybody and think, oh, I think maybe this person might have been a dog or a caterpillar or something in their past life? I've met people like that sometimes, or they just have like certain characteristics that you've had that experience.
Yeah, there's one girl in training. She really looked like a cat.
Yeah.
And appeared to like least it was like a cat.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people said that she was very cat-like. She had like you even know what kind of cat she was. She was like Garfield type cat.
An orange cat.
Yeah, like a fluffy orange cat. She's really like obviously a cat.
Have you ever had that experience, Chandrika? Yeah.
Well, before I knew about reincarnation, but just
Yeah. You just
this thing that's like that lady's like a cat.
Yeah, I had a friend one time that we were in a really bad part of town, and there was some rough characters around, and she just turned and looked at this one really rough character and said, "You remind me of a rat," and I was just like, "Oh my goodness, you're going to get us, assaulted or something, shh, don't say that." Yeah. So, okay. All right. So, and then also, in for example, with me, like, it's most likely that at the time of my previous death, that I was most likely thinking of a woman of some sort, whether a spouse or a mother or a sister, right? Because I've taken on a woman's body. It doesn't always work that way, but it's very common. It said it's very common that people will kind of switch back and forth between the genders in their lifetimes, because a lot of times people, when they pass away, they're thinking of their spouse, right? And so then they attain a body like that. Okay, so yeah, there's many examples in the Bhagavatam of people and their state of mind influencing their next body. So, of course, the most glaring example would be Maharaj Bharat, right? He was thinking of that deer at the time of death, at his time of death, because he was so concerned about that deer. And then he got a deer body, right? But then when he was in the deer body, he spent that time to hang out where the sages were and listen. And so then he was able to get his human body then. So that's an example. Another example would be Ajamil. So Ajamil, right, he had done some devotional service when he was younger, and then he got sidetracked by getting involved in an illicit relationship with a prostitute. And then he was doing so many horrible things to support her and their children. But at the time of death, even though he wasn't necessarily thinking about Krishna per se, he was calling out for his son named Narayan, right? And so then the Vishnu Dutas came and they gave him some more time to actually do better in his life. And he did, right? Another example would be King Pariksit, right? He's at this time of death, he's listening to the Bhagavatam, right? So that he ends up becoming liberated because he's listening to the Bhagavatam right before he dies. So that's changing his state of mind. So some other examples are Gajendra. So Gajendra the elephant, right? He's wrestling with this alligator. Or is it crocodile or an alligator?
Crocodile.
Huh? A crocodile. Okay, he's there. I know they're the same. I mean, not the same, but.
He says, "See you later."
And one says after a while. Yeah. Anyway, he's wrestling with this crocodile, and he's realizing, oh my gosh, I'm going to die here. And so what does he do? But he remembers from his previous lives as a devotee, he remembers a prayer, and he picks up a lotus flower and he holds it up and says this prayer. And then Lord Vishnu comes and kills the crocodile, and Gajendra is saved, right? So there's also King Chitraketu, right? He got cursed at some point because he had seen Lord Shiva and Parvati, and he saw Parvati was sitting on Lord Shiva's lap, and he kind of laughed a little bit. And so Parvati cursed him to be a demon. And so he became Vitrasura. And even as in that demon body, he was still a devotee of the Lord, right? So he's fighting Indra, but his mind is still focused on the Lord. And so what ends up happening to him, he becomes liberated. He's able to go back to the spiritual world and not as a demon. So then there's also examples, if you look at Putana and Shishupal, right? So now they weren't thinking favorably about the Lord, but they were thinking about him pretty consistently. Now, Putana, because she had acted in a motherly capacity to Krishna, she was liberated and given the position of a mother in the spiritual world. Whereas Shishupal, he was also liberated, but he was absorbed into the body of Krishna. And so that's because he was thinking about Krishna obsessively, right? Now, is it as nice a liberation as, going to be, one of Krishna's friends and running around? No, but he still was liberated. So, okay, so because we chant, we all know what we were doing, at least in one or at least one of our past lives. So because we're chanting Hare Krishna, we know that we are already doing so many austerities and sacrifices in past lives. That means you too, Jamuna. Right? So the Srimad Bhagavatam says, let me get this. In the third canto, the Srimad Bhagavatam tells us, "Oh, how glorious are they whose tongues are chanting your holy name. Even born in the families of dog eaters, such persons are worshipable. Persons who chant the holy name of your lordship must have executed all kinds of austerities and fire sacrifices, and achieved all the good manners of the Aryans. To be chanting the holy name of your lordship, they must have bathed at the holy places of pilgrimage, studied the Vedas, and fulfilled everything required." So that means you too. You must have been doing that at least in one of your lives. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it said, "My dear Lord, one who always keeps your holy name on his tongue becomes greater than an initiated Brahmana. Although he may be born in a family of dog eaters, and therefore by material calculation be the lowest among men, he is still glorious. This is the wonderful effect of chanting the holy name of the Lord. It is therefore concluded that one who chants the holy name of the Lord should be understood to have performed all kinds of austerities and great sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas. He has already taken his bath in all the holy places of pilgrimage. He has studied all the Vedas, and he is actually an Aryan." All right, so we know that since we're chanting Hare Krishna, that's what we've been doing in a past life, right? Now, what about people that were doing, bad things, right? What about criminals, right? You mentioned criminals. If you're a criminal in your past life, then you have a criminal's mindset in this life. So does that mean that person's just doomed forever to be a criminal? What do you think? No? Why not? Is what?
That's Krishna's mercy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So no, because the mercy of the devotees, right? Because the devotees can come, and just like we go out on Harinam every day, not every day, but every weekend, we go out and we chant in the streets, and all those people are hearing that holy name, right? And they're getting a little bit purified from it. And so as that continues, it just purifies them a little bit each time. And so no, they're not doomed to be a criminal forever. So now most people are also, I was thinking about, do you guys ever remember hearing about that book, The Secret? I know you've heard about it. Yeah, oh really? Okay, well. Yeah. Nice. So did you know about The Secret? You know? So The Secret is just kind of like a, huh? It's what? Oh, the author? Okay. Well, it's just kind of a modern philosophy about the law of attraction, right? And so you kind of meditate on what you want out of life, and then it comes to you, right? And so, I mean, whether or not that's effective, I mean, go ask the people that don't have anything, right? Do you think they're also not thinking like, oh, I wish I, had a house to live in, or I had some money, or, yeah, but it's not working for them, but it does work in the way that our mindset is what determines our next body. So we are manifesting our next life, right? We're manifesting our next life by the state of our mind now. So most people are trying to improve their material qualifications for a better life. They're trying to get more education, they're trying to earn more money, they're trying to get a nicer house, things like that. But all these things are just temporary, and it's not very effective in actually improving our life, right? It may be a temporary improvement. But if we want to have a real better life, then we need to improve our spiritual qualifications, because not only will that improve our life now, but it'll improve our life next time and improve us for all eternity, right? Because these spiritual qualifications, we get eternal benefit. And so we do this by controlling and making friends with our mind. So Arjuna says in the Bhagavad Gita that trying to control the mind is like trying to control the wind, right? And I can vouch for that. My mind does not cooperate with me like a lot. So what about you? Does it happen to you? Yeah. Oh, I thought your mind cooperated all the time. Okay. And so, we talk a lot about association. In ISKCON, we talk a lot about association. That's one of the main purposes of why Srila Prabhupada made ISKCON, right? Was so that we could associate with other people that are doing the same thing, right? And have that nice, powerful, positive association. And so we need to realize that our mind is also association. And so we need to think what kind of association is our mind? Is it good association? Is it bad association? Maybe a little bit of both. Yeah. So in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it says, "For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy." I think most of us have some experience of this. I'm going to read this purport because it's just really good. "The purpose of practicing Eightfold Yoga is to control the mind in order to make it a friend in discharging the human mission. Unless the mind is controlled, the practice of yoga for show is simply a waste of time. One who cannot control his mind lives always with the greatest enemy, and thus his life and its mission are spoiled. The constitutional position of the living entity is to carry out the order of the superior. As long as one's mind remains an unconquered enemy, one has to serve to the dictations of lust, anger, avarice, and illusion, etc. But when the mind is conquered, one voluntarily agrees to abide by the dictation of the personality of Godhead, who is situated within the heart of everyone as Paramatma. Real yoga practices entails meeting the Paramatma within the heart and then following his dictation. For one who takes to Krishna consciousness directly, perfect surrender to the dictation of the Lord follows automatically." Okay, so if your mind is controlled, it becomes your best friend. And so an example of this would be, if someone's being a real jerk to you and they're offending you, or they're disrespecting you, if your mind's controlled, you don't have to lash out at them, right? You don't fight with them. You don't, yell back at them, which just makes it worse. You're able to just kind of, be separate from that. And you also don't allow it to take over your emotions, right? You don't become angry. An example of your mind being your worst enemy would be like crimes of passion. We hear crimes of passion all the time, where people get so angry about something, right? They end up killing someone else, right? Or even, you start thinking, start ruminating on things that you want, and then you end up cheating on your spouse, ruining your family, ruining your marriage, right? Or at the very most basic level, this one happens to me, you end up buying something you don't want, right? Like you go to the mall and they say, oh, they're spraying you with perfume or whatever it is. That never got me, but other things, some salesperson like those infomercials on TV that were running all the time, where there's ShamWow and all those. Wow. Yeah, and like so many people bought those things. Yeah. Well, I remember the OxyClean one, and I actually use OxyClean, so yeah. But there were so many other dubious infomercial products out there. They show like somebody that can't walk without falling, and then they sell them some kind of grippy stuff for their shoes or something. Just, and people buy these things. And it's because, they're not really in control of their mind. They see that and they think, oh, yes, that's good. I'm going to get that. And so this is what happens when our mind is uncontrolled. So how do we conquer our mind? So the Bhagavad Gita also says in the 6th chapter, from wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. And a little bit of the purport. The nature of the mind is flickering and unsteady, but a self-realized yogi has to control the mind. The mind should not control him. One who controls the mind, and therefore the senses as well, is called Goswami or Swami, and one who is controlled by the mind is called Godasa, or the servant of the senses. So we want to control our mind. We don't want our mind to control us so that we're just going everywhere, just reacting to everything. We don't, this is not a comfortable way to live. The Bhagavad Gita further says, as a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist whose mind is controlled remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self. Okay, so how do we do it? Okay, now we know if we control our minds, we'll remain steady. So how do we do that? So we do that by practice and detachment. That's what Krishna says. Also in the 6th chapter, he says, O mighty armed son of Kunti, is it undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and detachment. So we need to have faith that this process works, right? Srila Prabhupada has promised us, and Krishna has also told us that it's possible. So what better endorsement do you need, right? Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. And sometimes you might think that you're not really making progress or that you're not worthy, but really realize that none of us are worthy to, be next to Krishna. But at the same time, all of us are worthy, right? We have the potential to be worthy. So, because we're all part and parcels of Krishna. But we need to have faith, especially when you start the process of clearing those anarthas, right? That can be really difficult, right? You start to think, oh my gosh, I have no redeeming qualities whatsoever, But if you're doing devotional service, you do, right? So, let me see. Yeah, the passage that Srila Prabhupada quoted in this purport, 5:18:12, it says, all the demigods and their exalted qualities, such as religion, knowledge, renunciation, become manifest in the body of one who has developed unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. On the other hand, a person devoid of devotional service and engaged in material activities have no good qualities. Even if he is adept at the practice of mystic yoga or the honest endeavor of maintaining his family and relatives, he must be driven by his own mental speculations and must engage in the Lord's external energy. How can there be any good qualities in such a man? So right there, it said if we have devotional service, then we have these good qualities, right? So we just have to have faith that the process works. So what is that process? I mean, we know that that there is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way than chanting the holy names of the Lord. And that's because this is a transcendental sound vibration. It's Krishna himself coming to dance on our tongues. And this transcendental sound vibration is so powerful that it clears all those layers of illusion off our mind, right? And allows us to be able to hear Krishna from our heart. So I love this quote. This is from a lecture in 1966. This is Srila Prabhupada. It says, just like the roaring of a lion drives away the big elephants from the forest, whenever there is roaring of a lion, even the big animals like elephants, they go away. Similarly, this vibration of transcendental sound will cleanse the elephants of dirtiness in the mind. We have accumulated dirtiness in our mind after many, many births, and that is a huge garbage. So this transcendental sound is just like the roaring of a lion, and it will clear all the garbages accumulated. And I mean, it's so powerful just hearing this sound. I mean, and we know this too, right? Because what you hear is what eventually will come out of your mouth, right? So if you're listening to the news all day and you're just hearing, that chatter, I mean, it's just really going to degrade your consciousness. And eventually that's what you're going to talk about, right? But if we hear the transcendental sound vibration of the holy name, Krishna's pastimes, lectures from Srila Prabhupada and the other devotees, then that's what's going to come out of our mouths, right? Instead of talking about the news or movies or television. And so we just have to remember that we do have these redeeming qualities, and we have to have faith in the holy name, and that we will be able to conquer our mind, even though it might not seem like it when you're in the midst of trying to clear your anarthas away, right? But just have faith, because it will happen. Srila Prabhupada promised us, Krishna has told us, so there's really no other word needed than that. So I guess I will end there. I know it's slightly early, but if there's any comments, questions. Yeah, Vanessa.
I don't remember what verse it is, but there's one in the first canto. It's like talking about how once we remove the garbage thoughts from our mind, then we are able to see, I believe that it's true color. So we're able to see like with true color. And the purport to that is really nice. I just tried to find it before, but I couldn't. So.
I saw you had the
Which is devotional service, but
yeah. Okay. Yeah, and that's devotional service we know starts with chanting and hearing, right? So
Might be the 1.2.18. 1.2 might 19 maybe. Tadara Justamo Baba. When lust, greed, passion, and ignorance. Yeah. Tadara Justamo Baba. Kamalobadayashchaye.
what did you say, 1 to 18?
I think so. Maybe 1 to 19, I think. 1 to 19 actually. There's a lot of verses like that. A lot of different verses like that.
I have it in my phone. I just
What I was going to say is I heard this lecture by Srila Prabhupada yesterday. And Prabhupada, the devotee asked Prabhupada, he said, Prabhupada, if an animal takes prasadam, does it get a human birth? And Prabhupada said, no. And so we hear that a lot, like, oh, anything that gets prasadam gets human. Prabhupada said, no, why should that be? He said, the animal, they get some benefit, he said, but the animal just takes prasadam like regular food. He says, so in the same way, even he said, if a devotee takes prasadam, it doesn't somehow make it back to Godhead because of it not being advanced in devotional service, he takes a human birth, guaranteed. But he said that there's no guarantee that, just because a person takes prasadam, they go back to God, or they get a human birth. Prabhupada said it'll help them. It'll help them eventually have taste for devotional service. And he said if people continuously take prasadam, it'll help them. But he didn't say that human birth is guaranteed. And it's just interesting because we hear that, and that devotee asked that question, but then that's what Prabhupada said.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now I'm sad because I gave my cat prasadam, hoping that she would.
But they get some benefit. But I don't know. He might have said something else in a different place, but that was a direct question someone asked him.
Well, we can see we can see from
it makes more
that
sense.
Works in the restaurant, we can see like how over time, like I've worked in the restaurant long enough now to kind of get to know our regular customers, and I can actually see how it has benefited them over the years, right? I've seen people that were kind of very averse to even hearing about Krishna at all, and to suddenly becoming interested after eating prasadam for years, right? And they had no interest at all before, but then they come every week, sometimes several times a week, and you can sort of see their consciousness getting a little better, and a little better, and a little better as time progresses. Yeah. You've seen that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, also the secret, you mentioned the secret, which, I mean, I have my whole, I'm not advocating for the secret, but I will say that there's some truth to that, because the super soul is Upadrastadamantas Chabharta Bhokta Maheshwara. He's the overseer and the permitter. And so when we have enough punya, and we do attract what we think about, and but our thoughts are also our karma. And I was thinking when I was a little kid, I watched that when I was like 10, and I started using it, and I was getting so many things I wanted, and I was like miraculous stuff, like getting a $3,000 guitar for free. And so I was really thinking this stuff works. And sometimes I go back to it, but when I was a little kid, my mind was so pure that it was so easy to be able to focus on something and think about it and imagine and have a feeling. But because of all the Maya and because of all the entanglement, going down into Maya, now I find it's not so easy to change our thoughts, the innocence of a child. So there's some, like Krishna responds to the vibration you put off. Like you can't fool Krishna. Who you are inside is what Krishna sees, and he's going to give you exactly that. Yeah. And so even though we may think about something, we don't have the vibration, the karma for it doesn't come. And I was just observing last night that Gurudev was giving class in Mantra Oasis, and we had so much fun last night. I mean, we were talking for hours after Mantra Oasis, and everybody was just laughing. And I was feeling like, Gurudev's aura is so powerful that people are so uplifted. Yeah. Because he's got so much purity, and it was really a lot of fun. So.
Yeah. And that's a good point. I mean, because Krishna does want to give us what we want, right? I mean, that's part of how this works, or why we attain what we're thinking of at the time of death, which is usually a culmination of the thoughts we've had over our lifetime, right? But like you said, do we have the karma for it? So if I'm thinking oh yes, I'm going to be a rock star or something, do I have that karma?
And that goes back to that whole verse, living entity bewildered by false ego thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actuality performed by the three modes of material nature. So we think we're the doer, we think I'm thinking about my new car, and my new car came, or my new guitar, and my new guitar came. And that's just, we take the credit like it's us, but really that's just a movie. Even if we weren't thinking about it, it was going to come anyways. And we're not our thoughts. Our thoughts are being forced upon us. We can't identify with them either. And then only God can really change. We have our desire, but that's it.
Yeah. All right, Chandrika, you had something?
Just in terms of law of attraction, I would see, because Krishna is all attractive, so so if we see Krishna as all attractive and know that Krishna fulfills our desires as long as we are Krishna conscious about it, then that's, I think, how, we don't manifest, Krishna manifests and sees what's in us. So just seeing, every time I think about law of attraction, I think, well, Krishna is all attractive. So.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that means you're gonna attract him. Yeah, Vanessa.
So there's some truth to law of attraction, but I feel like you could kind of mentally speculate any process, and if you have faith in it and you're convinced about it, it's gonna work. You know what I mean? Like if you have a manipulative mindset or a cheating kind of mindset, or in business and stuff like that, that's how you get what you want, and people, it works, so anyways, I feel like it's there's definitely good pieces to it. The secret, I remember being sent that, in a PDF, and people sharing it with me and stuff like that. But it's important, yeah, like Kirtaneshwar said, to know, like, we're not the doers. So even if we're trying to manifest like all of this for ourselves, we might even get it, but it could be very temporary. In other words, it's not from the result of devotional service or Lakshmi Devi bestowing, it's not lasting or whatever. So ultimately, I think it's not really reliable.
Yeah. Where is there a verse I've heard this said where like the super soul is telling the thief like, oh yes, there's some nice things to steal over there, and the super soul is telling the owner of those things, oh, better lock your door, so. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'll give that example.
Yes.
So I was telling the thief to rob the house and telling the owner to lock the door. And that example is given on book distribution that, like, if you want to be advanced in Krishna consciousness, if you want to do something for Krishna, you have to desire it more. And so devotees who do a lot for Krishna and who are making advancements because they want to make advancement, not because, someone's special and someone's favored and someone's not favored. That's all material. But because a devotee wants to make advancement, he makes advancement. Because he wants to perform a service, he becomes successful. So the example given is that Vijay always says this, that, they don't want to take the book. And Super Soul is empowering them to not want to take the book. But when your desire to make them take the book is higher than their desire to not want the book, then Super Soul will listen to you and make them take the book, not otherwise. So we have to develop the desire to serve Krishna, and in Super Soul, Krishna will oblige.
Nice. That just makes me wonder though about, because sometimes I've seen people that try very hard to do some service and then will not be successful, and that because they just want to, or
Well, I mean, we're still doing the service.
yeah,
We're getting service. The spiritual benefit is still present.
yeah,
The success in terms of what we see as success and failure might not be, but because they're desiring to do service, they're getting to do more service, they're getting to chant more, they're chanting better, they're doing more pujas, whatever it is, they're doing more, preaching. That's giving more classes is because the desire to.
right.
Look at Jayapataka Maharaj. It's a great
Yeah.
example.
It's an amazing example. I mean,
He's chanting.
wow. All right, I think you have something?
Oh no, Arjuna, I had a question.
Hare Krishna, Arjuna.
So he's asking you, how do we remove or deal with the intrusive thoughts that we don't even want to be having that are contrary to devotional service?
Yeah, I mean, this happens to me. Sometimes I'll have intrusive thoughts that I'm just, and I use my intelligence to realize that this thought is unwanted and that it's not useful, and sometimes I have to kind of treat my mind like it's a little child, and say, okay, enough of that now, and it's hard, I mean, because they will still keep coming, but if you keep doing that enough, then just like a child, your mind starts to behave a little better. So if every time, I see somebody that maybe I don't like or something, and I think, oh, what a jerk, look at what a jerk they are, look what they're wearing, look how they're walking, look how they're sitting, and I'm thinking these things, right? Then I'm also using my intelligence to tell myself, look, that's not very nice. You shouldn't be thinking that way about another person. I just kind of keep chastising myself in my mind. And eventually, the mind will start to behave a little better. But then is that going to work 100% of the time? No. But that's what I do. And then, of course, we want to make sure we're chanting good rounds, because that helps a lot. Because there's days where if I don't, my rounds are not so good, then those intrusive thoughts are much worse. Whereas on days where I chant my rounds nicely, those intrusive thoughts might still come, but it's easy to dismiss them. It's easy to just be like, this is nonsense. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
You don't identify with the intrusive thoughts, not even the slightest.
Yeah.
Like, you just completely don't identify with them. Like, I have so many crazy thoughts, like,
Yeah.
talking insane stuff, but you just don't identify with it in the slightest. Like,
Yeah.
it's just not me, just
Yeah.
a thought. It's like the movie that I'm, being forced to watch by the material nature is not a pretty movie. I'm on the horror movie cycle. And so, we have to sometimes watch the horror movies in our mind, but we don't have to, get absorbed in it. Just
Yeah.
watch it pass by.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you just have strength. You just get
That's fine, like
strong. You just get
clouds.
strong, You almost laugh at it.
Yeah, that's what I do sometimes too, is I laugh at the things my mind comes up with, and I'm just like, wow, I'm glad I don't have to do what you say, because you're not very nice. And also sometimes my mind will say really stupid things that are completely off the wall. Like I'll be walking across the bridge, and my mind's just like, you should jump off this bridge. And I'm like, no, I shouldn't. What do you mean? You should not do that. And so you just tell your mind it's nonsense.
You just want to be spiritual.
Yeah. All right, I think we'll end here. Srimad Bhagavatam. Does that ever happen to you?